bigger fish.
Music think we going back now.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 creepiest sea monster sightings.
Sea monster!
I've never seen anything like this.
It raises the evidence a whole new level.
As big around as my thigh, I'd say.
For this list, we're looking at the most disturbing sea monster sightings ever recorded. We'll be excluding general descriptions and myths that don't have credible witnesses or don't cite specific events. Let us know in the comments which one will leave you scared to go back in the water. Number 10. Kelly Nash Films Cadborosaurus. For more than 2 centuries, the Pacific Northwest has been home to the legend of Catty, a sea serpent said to inhabit Cadboro Bay in Western Canada. One sighting of Catty in 1943 was debunked as being a large group of sea lions swimming, but a chilling 2009 sighting casts doubt on whether sea lions are truly behind the hundreds of other encounters. Footage recorded by fisherman Kelly Nash seems to show a large sea serpent swimming through the water.
We're going to catch a sea monster.
That's the Loch Ness Monster.
It looks just like the Loch Ness Monster stuff.
I've never seen anything like this.
It raises the evidence a whole new level.
The sighting was investigated by Deadliest Catch's Hillstrand brothers, but to no avail. Whatever Catty is, it's still out there. Number 9. Robert Lissareck photographs the Hook Island sea monster. One of the most famous sea monster photos of all time came from the camera of Robert Lissareck in 1964, who snapped a picture of an enormous, dark, tadpole-like animal while off the coast of Hook Island in Australia. It's been a viral image ever since, but nobody is quite sure what it is. Lissareck even claimed that the creature tried to attack him. Attempts to explain the sea monster as any animal we've so far identified just don't hold water. It's been argued that it may have been a hoax. Journalist Darren Naish suggested that it was probably just a giant plastic sheet weighted down onto the seabed with sand. Real or not, this sinister picture will stay with you. Number 8. Sailors encounter a maned sea serpent. Norwegian scholar Erik Pontoppidan was a staunch believer in all kinds of spooky sea creatures. He included many stories of the legendary Kraken in his Natural History of Norway, as well as one noteworthy sea serpent sighting. Pontoppidan reproduced a letter from Captain Lawrence de Ferry to John Reutz, which tells a blood-curdling tale of a coiled serpent that was a fathom, or around 6 feet long. The sailors foolishly pursued the creature and were able to shoot at it, but couldn't catch it. A century later, a British sloop HMS Plumper encountered another sea serpent off the coast of Portugal in 1848, which also had a large mane like the one de Ferry saw. Number 7. Chessy stares down 2 friends. Residents of and visitors to the Chesapeake Bay in the eastern United States have been seeing a strange creature in the water since the 1930s. Nicknamed Chessy, the sea serpent is said to be around 12 feet long, although some reports suggest it's much larger. But despite Chessy's image being a mascot for the bay, in 2014, a very ominous encounter with the monster was reported. 2 people driving along a riverbank witnessed Chessy firsthand, only a few feet away from the car and staring right at them. Though it was dark out, the witnesses were sure they'd just seen Chessy, but they were left so shaken by the experience that neither of them bothered to take a picture. Number 6. The Sowe Island sea monster approaches a boat. This small and isolated island off the coast of Scotland was invaded by a mysterious creature in the last century. In 1959, Tex Geddes, owner of the entire island and legendary sharker, and an engineer named James Gavin witnessed the Sowe beast. It was described as looking a lot like a turtle, with a hard, serrated back, a tortoise-like head, and up to 10 feet long. There are large sea turtles in the water of the Inner Hebrides, but none of the species identified matched the description given by Geddes and Gavin. It speaks volumes that the Sowe Island sea monster was creepy enough to frighten an experienced shark fisherman. Number 5. George Spicer's run-in with Nessie.
What is that?
Without a doubt, the Loch Ness Monster is the most iconic sea or lake creature in the world. But years later, we're still no closer to proving whether Nessie is fact or fiction.
The numbers of sightings that's been here on the loch over 600 years, even if you take 99% of them and put them in the trash can, You turn around and you still have that 1% that can't be explained.
And one of the most famous sightings is also one of the strangest. While driving on a road close to the loch in 1933, George Spicer and his wife saw a 25-foot-long creature with a long neck and fat body cross the road in front of their stopped car, making a beeline for the water's edge. Spicer's hair-raising tale sparked so much interest that Nessie became one of Scotland's most famous cultural icons, and so many decades later, his story is still eerie.
I've just described to you the Loch Ness Monster, and the reward for its capture? All the riches in Scotland.
Number 4. Fishermen catch the Zuiyō-Maru Monster. Identifying living creatures that could be mistaken for sea monsters is difficult enough, and that can be even harder when they're dead. Many times over the years have rotten carcasses washed up on land or been fished out of the sea, decomposed so severely that it's hard to identify what they once were. One famous example is the Zuiyō-Maru carcass, found by Japanese fishermen near New Zealand. The creepy critter was analyzed and was probably a dead basking shark, but it was never proven definitively.
The basking shark is the second largest shark after the whale shark. It can grow to more than 30 feet long.
Dead sea monsters have been reported as far back as the 2nd century BC, when the Greek Poseidonus encountered a deceased dragon, and as recently as 2003, when the Chilean blob washed ashore. Number 3. Hans እዩ sights a massive monster. Back in the icy waters of 18th century Scandinavia, yet another freakish monster was encountered by a sailor. Hans እዩ described seeing a creature rise out of the water next to a ship, a creature so tall its head was higher than the ship's crow's nest. It was also longer than the ship when it swam. It's not clear exactly what kind of ship እዩ was aboard to estimate the size, but even if they were on a small sloop, that could still be as long as 65 feet. The terrifying monster has been explained as either another sea serpent or, more interestingly, an early giant squid sighting. Number 2. Japanese sailors encounter an umibozu. This creature has existed in Japanese folklore for hundreds of years. It's a sea spirit that appears as a large black mass with just 2 eyes visible. It can sometimes be very globular and inhuman, and other times resemble a bald monk.
Sea monsters!
A crew of Japanese sailors came across one in 1971 off the coast of Onagawa. Many feet long, the umibozu stuck around just long enough to terrify the fishermen who encountered it, but the spirit vanished when they tried to shoot it with a harpoon. These creatures aren't well known outside of Japan, but they're distinct enough that they may have inspired a kaiju, Hedora. Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions. Champ caught on camera. In 2005, this elusive beast was allegedly filmed.
The search is still on, which brings us to the latest sighting by a couple of respected upstate New York fishermen who, on a summer afternoon last year, captured something on their digital camera.
As big around as my thigh.
Ogopogo lurks just under the surface. Okanagan Lake's Nessie was filmed swimming close to shore in the 1960s. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. St. Columba faces off against Nessie.
Come on, Izzy. Let's go. I've had enough.
Sightings of Nessie increased in the 1930s, thanks in no small part to the notorious and fake surgeon's photograph, now known to be a toy submarine with a model on top. But the first recorded story about Nessie dates back to the 6th century. Legend has it that the monk St. Columba happened across a funeral for a man who had been violently murdered by a creature described as a water beast. The monk had a follower swim across the river Ness, and a beast began to pursue him, until St. Columba made the sign of the cross and ordered it to go away.
Terrified by the sound of the saint's voice, he fled more quickly than if he had been pulled back by ropes. And that is reputed to be the first sighting of the Loch Ness Monster.
Nessie isn't known for murder, so this gruesome tale is particularly unsettling.
Good thinking, old pal. It'll take more than a rainstorm to dampen our spirits, huh?
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.